Hello, welcome back to the Barrett channel where I tell you exactly how it is. I'm just wanted to get out and make a quick video because I'm flashing about a new camera today. I don't know if we've got a nice picture on the screen here. We've gone for the defocus background. I've gone Casey Neistat style with the sunglasses because they have put the screen off to the side. So I don't want my eyes to be looking over to the side, so hopefully you can't notice that I'm doing that. Anyway, enough chat about that. I've been thinking recently, ongoing thoughts over the past few months about isolation. You'll notice from the title that this video is going to be talking about isolation. You know that I like to think about things from a psychological and philosophical point of view. You know, people have been isolating all over the world, whether that's been forced isolation or self-isolation. It's happening everywhere at the moment. Luckily, in China, we've been out of isolation for a couple of months now. Life is, I'd say 100% back to normal, and it has been for the past few weeks. I get a lot of questions about that. But I went through my fair share of isolation. It was kind of a first in, first out kind of deal here in China. Speaking to people over these past few months it's really given me good insight into people's mindsets about isolation, and if they are doing well with it or if they're seeing it in a totally negative light and letting it affect them a lot. Look, I'm very aware that this isolation period has put a lot of people under a lot of stress. People are losing their jobs. People have got nothing to do. Got rent to pay, you got bills to pay, and you got no money coming in. I know there's a lot of people in that boat, right? But you can split those people up into two groups. There's the people who will sit and wallow about it and say, why me? And you've got the other people who will bust their ass to do everything they can to make their lives better. They see it as an obstacle that they've got to get through, and a lot of other people are in the same boat and they'll do their best to pull through this pandemic. I'm just going to speak for me. I like to think I'm quite an optimistic person. Some people do like to think that I am idealistic, which may be somewhat correct, but I don't particularly think that's a problem. Maybe my experiences will shape me differently in the future, but at the moment I like to think I'm a fairly optimistic person. I like to see the good in most situations, and I do try my best to do that because I personally think that helps me through tough times. For example, this isolation. I was lucky enough to spend the 2 months I spent about 5 weeks with my girlfriend. We kind of lived together during that time so we weren't so bored living alone. But during that time, I really got my ass into gear. Me and my dad, we massively cracked down on YouTube content because there was nothing else to do. All of what else we had to spend our time on was no longer happening. So we were now spending all of that time, maybe 40, 50 hours a week, on cranking out YouTube content. And that's really where we started to see some growth. So that was a massive silver lining for us too. And I know that's not the case for everybody, but I feel like there's a lot of people that are finding the light in a really difficult situation. For example, there's people that have learned how to play a music instrument. There's people who have been put in tough times, and I spoke to one guy and he was a performer. So obviously that's terrible when it comes to a pandemic, because you're not going to be performing anymore. So all of his work instantly gone through no fault of his own, right? And he was in a tough time because obviously he's got rent to pay, he's got bills to pay, he's got, maybe debt to pay off. So he was forced to try new things, get creative. And he was building websites. He was trying to teach people his art, his skill online. He was trying to trade. He was learning how to play a musical instrument. His wife was teaching him how to dance. Just a bunch of new things that he probably would have never done had there not been a pandemic. And yeah, he can be negative about that and think, there's so much effort having to try and do all these different things, and it's really hard to get by and whatnot. But he actually, what he said to me, it was just a conversation we had, and it was really inspiring, because he was like, nah man, I'm gonna pull through. I'm gonna come out of this with a whole new bunch of lessons learned, a whole new perspective on the world and how easily things can be taken away from me. And he's like, I've come out of this with a bunch of new skills, and ones that I'll be able to transfer into maybe a job, or, just life lessons and life skills to take through with me into the future. I was thinking, wow, man, it's a really good way of looking at it. Because I've spoke to a fair few people who have really not got that kind of mindset. I thought I just stepped in a turd, but I didn't, luckily. They've really not that. I spoke to a lot of people that have really not got that kind of mindset. And, they are in jobs that they really don't like, and they've been furloughed, because in the UK at the moment, and I'm not sure about other countries, maybe you can help me out in the comments, but I know in the UK at the moment they will, the government are funding up to 80% of people's salary under a certain wage. So there's a lot of people in, average paying jobs that are getting 80% of their wage, and they're not working. And a lot of them will be in jobs that they don't want to be in at all. And now it's the perfect opportunity to do something about that. They've now got 40 hours a week, 40 plus hours a week to put that energy into something else. Yet, I can imagine a lot of these same people are not taking that opportunity and, wasting it away doing, fill in the blank, playing games or watching movies or whatever, which is fine. But at the same time, you've really got to if you want change, you've got to make change. You've got to make change happen. There's a saying goes like, you create your own luck, right? Like during this YouTube business, we've had a lot of luck, of course. There's been circumstances, situations, and we fell in line. We fell in line at the right time, at the right place, and things have happened. But those things wouldn't have happened had we not put the work in to make content and grow a YouTube channel. So I see that we've created our own luck. Maybe people won't see that, but that's how I like to think of it. So I guess the story of this video is kind of try and see things in a positive light. Try not to put a negative spin on the world, and try and use this isolation time, if you're still in it, because I know a lot of people are coming out of isolation these days. But use this time wisely, and in the future, this is going to be something that's talked about for decades. How do you want to remember this time? Do you want to remember this time as a regretful period in your life where you could have made change and you didn't because you didn't want it enough, or you're too lazy, or you had other things on your mind, or whatever? Or do you want to be like that guy that I spoke to who was having a hard time, but he saw the positive as everything, who was gonna get through this pandemic, and he was gonna learn a bunch of new skills and come out on the other side? I know which one I would rather be, and what legacy I would want to create. Anyway, that's going to be the end of this little chat. That's what I think of isolation in general. It's very windy, I hope you can hear me. Anyway, I'm going to get home, put this together, get it up on YouTube. See you in the next one. Take care. Like, comment, subscribe if you haven't already. Bye bye.